after Jared Allen at number 19, we get Serge Ibaka. Ibaka, 19. I know he wasn't a starter, but that's sad.
Yeah, I mean, not sad to me. I had a borderline 25. I
Yeesh.
At the end of the day, it's just again the fact that there is a lot of good centers on the rise that are up and coming kids that could put up a very similar to Serge, and Serge is at this point unfortunately on the decline. Not that he's again a bad player. Him and Mark had Serge had a better stat line by a lot, but in things of against things Mark does well, 3-point shooting, Serge does it just as well. In terms of on the defensive end, Serge is just as smart. I mean, Serge does things differently too that are great. He brings that energy. He's gonna still be able to block shots. He does play well sometimes in the clutch, where maybe sometimes he doesn't, but sometimes plays very, very well in the clutch. So I still think he's top 25. For me, this is actually a bit high on the list, which justifies why you think it's a bit low on the list. But yeah, so I guess say kind of what you think, meaning why you think it's a bit low.
Yeah, well, Ibaka. I former Raptor. I watched a lot of his basketball in the last couple of years. If you need 2 points, he is a point getter. He might slow the offense down. He might bring it to a standstill, but he isolates the top of the key. There's a fairly good chance he'll make that shot. He started hitting over 40% from 3-point, got 16 and 8 last year. He probably had the best year of his career. I'm talking about a guy who at one point was considered top defensive player in the league, one of the top defensive players at least, led the league in blocks for at least 2 or 3 years. He still has that defensive mentality, but he's really expanded his offensive game. Just because he's not getting the blocks doesn't mean he wasn't playing that solid defense. I think he was getting a little bit slower for how fast basketball is nowadays. But with that being said, if he replicates the year he had last year, then I think this is going to be a low ranking for him. But I can sadly picture a situation where he plays in LA, he doesn't play as much, he doesn't get the ball as much, and his numbers do go down. And then I can definitely see where he justified how he could have been a little bit lower.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is what the ranking is. It's going into or who we think how this year is going to go. But even with that being said, I mean, I guess that's where a lot of people might devalue Serge, where it's not a bad thing, where he does slow the ball down, where visually you look at it and you're thinking like, why is the guy holding the ball this long? What does he do? You have so many other options. You're the center. Why are you playing iso ball? But I mean, at the end of the day, if he's scoring, he's taking off 20 seconds from the clock, and he's doing it a few times a quarter, and he's racking up 2 minutes of time, and he made 70% of the shots that he took. It's not a bad thing. And I mean, everyone is on the Clippers talking about how bad the Harrell loss is, but then when you look at Ibaka's stat line and you look at what Ibaka does and what he brings to the team, it
almost just as good.
Exactly. It doesn't seem like Harrell is really
that better on defense.
Yeah, and I mean, he's not going to bring that drama to them as much. Where yes, he does have his own type of energy and drama, but he doesn't have a long-term effect kind of drama that Harrell clearly was bringing to the team. So he very much does replace him. Where there is a good possibility where he might actually have a top 20 stat line for center this year, if, like you said, he's able to continue on the trend that he had this year, where he does get to slow the ball down. He still gets to take his threes. He gets to play some ISO. But yeah, if they're really just trying to use him as a post player, then it's going to be a bit harder for him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I actually think they're just going to sit him on the 3-point line. He's going to sit there and hit 40%. If Davis is going to play in, even if he's playing with LeBron. Whoa. Whoa. Take that right back. I mean, no, I think he's going to sit on the 3-point line because of Kawhi and George. I think that they're going to really be attacking there. I do think that they're really going to play 5 out. So I think I can see him in a similar role. He has a great relationship with Kawhi. Yes, twice. I can see your chat message. I understand. But I think I think he has a great relationship with Kawhi. I think he's going to really fit in really well with that team. He's going to bring that defensive presence that they didn't have last year. I think he actually brings them into more of a contention piece than Harrell would have, just because they needed that defensive center. They didn't need the extra 4 or 5 points that Harrell would have gotten them. They need that defensive presence that Ibaka brings. So I can definitely see them. This actually helped their case when it comes to defending against Davis, defending against Gasol even. Any of those players in the Lakers, which we all know that's the Clippers' only real rival this year.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, maybe if the Rockets turn out the exact way that they're hoping that they end up being a contender to, and say potentially with the Nuggets. But yeah, I mean, realistically, again, it's going to be these two LA teams. And I'm not necessarily unconfident that Ibaka can't just block out Harrell completely and just maybe even play better than Harrell at a kind of head-to-head kind of thing. But time will see. Hopefully that Sega happens. But yes, I did have them lower on my list. I just think there is going to be a lot of guys in that center position who just keep building their potential. Guys like Jackson Hayes, guys like Mitchell Robinson who didn't make the list, it's going to be hard for Ibaka to keep the spot, but definitely still a very good player, definitely a good option for the Clippers too.